This question is an explain. So we've got 4 marks to find on this, and explain 2 reasons why software companies usually do not make their source code publicly available. So when we do explain, we need to say what the reason is and some form of explanation of the reason why we're using that example. So we're saying why that the software company wouldn't usually make their source code available. Now, their source code, as it says here, it's the code they wrote to create the software. So that's like if you write a Python or a VB or a C# program, and you give that code free access, anyone can look at it. It means people could copy that code if they wanted to. So basically, you're just making your actual algorithms available. So there are some things we could say here. So first of all, we could say that algorithms, so an algorithm is just a designated way of solving a problem, so a step-by-step means of solving a problem. So an algorithm is not possible to copyright. So copyright, you can't copyright an algorithm, but copyright means if we can say that we've written some things, like if we write a book or if we write anything really that's a bit of text, so if we write a report or something like that, if we're designated as the author, we own the copyright on that, but you can't copyright an algorithm, it's not allowed. So therefore we can say that in here, and the reason is that these algorithms that the company has written need to be protected. So if I make the source code available, everyone can see my thinking and my algorithms, and all the time I've spent writing them, and doing a better job potentially than someone else could be lost to someone else using the same algorithm. So that's one reason. So another one that's related to that is that if we've written code, so we can copyright a program, but not a base algorithm. So we could copyright some code, and therefore if we copyright that code, then us as a company, we own it, and we might not want other people to use that because we've spent lots of time on it, and so we might not want too many other people to just take that code and use it as if it was theirs, etc. So if we copyright the code, and because the company paid for the development, they would not want another company to profit from it. So we could copyright the code, but if we do copyright the code and then we make all the source code available, then even though the code is copyright, it's going to be more difficult for us to protect it if we make it all available. So that's another thing we could say. The third thing we could say, if we want a third thing, is we could say something about security. So security. So if the code is visible, malicious persons, which we sometimes call hackers, may identify a vulnerability or a way to attack it, way to attack the software. So security is another one we could talk about. So if we make all of our code available and visible for people to look at, then people might be able to find ways around some of our attempts to make our code secure, and they'd find it much more easy to do that if they could see all of our code and how it works. So that's another one that's a problem. So we also might get people that copy our code and then put their name on it. So they could modify the code and change it a little bit and then pretend that it was their original work. So we could talk about that as well. All of that sort of thing is a sort of thing a company wouldn't like to do because it's obviously going to affect their profitability. So we've paid for this software, we've paid for it to be developed. We don't want to lose the money from that really. So we've got a good 2 reasons here. It's 4 marks. So our 4 marks, we'll get that it's not possible to copyright algorithms and that they need to be protected, that we could copyright the code because we wouldn't want another company to profit from it. We could talk about security and talk about vulnerabilities that malicious people might exploit. So that's the way that the marks are allocated on this. So it can seem a tricky question when you're sitting in the exam to do this, but remember when it's explained, we need a reason and then some kind of explanation as to why that reason is there.